I'm back. It's Ranting Ron. I'm in front of the world famous Orlando Hard Rock Cafe. I'm back. Ranting Ron, the Ranting Ron Show here in front of the beautiful Universal Studios down here.
Well, great to see you. I listen to you all the time, man. You're great. Best podcaster I know.
The wind is good right now. Ranting Ron, Ranting Ron.
Hey, it's the Ranting Cast, and Ron's not here. It's me, Frank Arcury. We're taking over today. I got Dylan Friedland with me, who is host of the Dylan's Discourse podcast. He lives down in the is it right in Miami, or is it the Miami area?
I'm in Miami-Dade County.
Okay, Miami-Dade County.
Like 30 minutes out of downtown Miami, but yeah.
Okay. He's a huge, not only is he a huge Panthers fan, he's a season ticket holder. He has his podcast, Dylan's Discourse. How long have you been doing that podcast?
I started it this year. I think my first ever episode was like a season preview right after the Barkov extension came out. So it's been less than a year.
And how have you liked podcasting so far, at least? Let's at least get to know you a bit.
Yeah, I've honestly loved it. I haven't done a whole lot. I've done maybe 7 episodes. I've been pretty inconsistent. Going to get a little bit more into it once the playoffs come out. But I've had fun with it. I mean, it wasn't something I really wanted to do a whole lot of, but just having a place where I could kind of just share my thoughts. It was really nice to have that outlet. Yeah,
and I mean, you're obviously busy enough too with school and everything. I mean, when I look at your Twitter and I see Northwestern 2026, I'm thinking, holy crap, this guy's still in high school too. My God, you got a lot on your plate, obviously. So as
second semester senior year has let up a little bit, so I've had more time to follow the Panthers, but it's been a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean. I can't wait to hear more of your show. I listened to a couple episodes. I enjoy it a lot.
Thank you.
So keep it up for as a first thing.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So first off, for people who don't know you, how you obviously you've lived in the Miami area your whole life.
Yeah, I was born and raised.
Yep. So obviously you grew up with the Panthers.
Went to my first game when I was 4 years old.
Wow.
I still remember they beat the Avalanche 3-0. It was like December 2008. I loved it back then. My dad took me to that first game, and I guess my fandom has really grown. And this year has been the most I've ever been into it, going to 35 games this year.
I mean, and rightfully so with just how good this team has been. It looks like they're going to win the President's Trophy for the first time, which I don't really, personally for me, I don't really look at that as, it's a nice accomplishment, but I don't think it means a ton, just because typically, I think playoff success matters a little more for the team. So we'll see what happens come playoff time, but having that home ice advantage is a good start to have.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, how many people really remember that the Avalanche won the President's Trophy last year, but everyone remembers the Lightning won the cup.
Second round. So. Yeah. They lost in the Colorado lost in the second round. Tampa went back to back. So Panthers are they're probably gonna have to beat Tampa again, at least, or have to beat Tampa.
I could see Toronto knocking Tampa out in the first round though. So that's
gonna be a fun playoff series. I mean, but we're gonna focus a lot on the Panthers today. That's why you're here. Best offense in the league, first off. I mean, unbelievable what they do. How they've been able to score as well. Ron has been adamant that this Panthers team will not get out of the first round, or maybe they get lucky and win one playoff series, but they won't make it to the conference finals. He's like for sure saying they will not make it to the conference finals, only because of their goaltending. We know it's Bobrovsky. He's going to be the guy going in, right? I mean, you as a guy who watches Panthers, you think that too.
Yeah, and Andrew Brunette has come out and said multiple times Bob is our guy. So as of right now, it's definitely going to be Bobrovsky game 1.
Yeah, I fully expect that too. And I don't think he's been as bad as I think Ron makes it out to be, and I think a lot of people make it out to be. So when I go into his numbers, I use Evolve in Hockey when I look at goalie numbers. I'm looking at all situations right now. And Bobrovsky is, I believe he was at I'm going to have to find him really quick. Yeah. 910 save percentage in all situations. Not terrible. It really isn't terrible when you consider that offense has been blowing up this year. Look at how many players are over 100 points. I mean,
it's
more than
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous how much scoring there has been. So because of that, goaltending numbers are gonna dip down a bit. So I look at a 910 save percentage this year, and overall in the league, that's 30th, but that doesn't mean that Bobrovsky is the 30th best goalie in the league. It just means, I mean, because we also got to take into account, games played too. Bobrovsky has played 53 games. He hasn't, I don't know his starting games, but I think that might be it from the website. But
pretty similar. They've been very hesitant to pull Spencer Knight. I think literally last night was his first time getting pulled. So he's probably started 52 of those 53.
Yeah. And one other stat that I love to use, I think more people need to be using it more often, is goals saved above expected. Very nice stat for evaluating goalies with. Bobrovsky is 11th in the league in GSAX. That's pretty good when you look at guys around him. I mean, Bobrovsky himself is at a 10.89 goal saved above expected. Some guys, and there are 10 guys ahead of him. Connor Hellebuck, I still say is really good. Jonathan Quick has had a resurgence of a year.
Incredible.
Saros, I think, like UC Saros, Vasilevsky, Darcy Kemper, Ville Huso's just blown up for St. Louis this year. And then obviously, Markstrom has been a top goalie. Sorokin, I think, is going to be up for the Vezina along with Shesterkin, who is number one. I mean,
Shesterkin has to win it.
He has to. Oh my God, he has to. I think the top. If we're gonna dive off course real quick, I think the top three for Vezina is going to be Shesterkin, Sorokin, and I'd want it to be Saros, but or Markstrom, but I think Kemper is going to be in it.
Really?
Because of the wins.
Okay, I would say Markstrom because of the shutouts, though.
I think, that's why I would like to see it be Saros or Markstrom. I think either one is a fine choice. I think the committee is gonna look at the win total for.
I mean, hey, if you're looking at wins, I think Bob leads the league right now in wins. So
I
hate wins as a goalie stat.
I hate wins as a goalie stat too. I just look at that. I just remember who is the top three last year. It was Vasilevsky, I think. I think Saros was in it too, but
there was in it, or no?
Maybe, I don't remember. But I also remember over the last couple of years, I think there was always one goalie in there who just led the league in wins and was a part of it, even though the numbers weren't as good as some other guys. But I don't. We don't have to too much into that. I mean, I think Bobrovsky's numbers have been actually pretty fine this year. When you look at 5v5. He's 11th again in goal saved above expected at 8.53 with guys like Vasilevsky, Markstrom, Hughes. So the same guys ahead of him. So and at 5v5, his save percentage, I believe, is at 917, which is pretty
decent
because scoring is up. It's solid. I think when it comes to 5v5 save percentage, the numbers should be better because when you look at some of the top goalies. I mean, Sorokin's at a 936. Shesterkin's at a 935. Demko is another guy who I think could maybe sneak his way into the Vezina conversation just because of really, I mean, he's carried Vancouver.
But I think Vancouver missing the playoffs is going to hurt his case.
I think it will too, but he's gotten them close at least. I mean, he has, 933 5v5 save percentage is pretty dang good. Huso's at 927, Saros is at 926, so is Markstrom. And plus two, Demko has a 19.84 goal saved above expected. That's ridiculous. That's why I
didn't realize it was that good.
Yeah, he's third best in the league behind Shesterkin and Sorokin. So that's why I think maybe there's a chance he sneaks in, but I think the playoffs will see. But then again, I think Sorokin's going to be in it, and they're making the playoffs. Sorokin has been almost just as good as Shesterkin this year. So you kind of got to put him in that conversation.
Think about where the Islanders would be without him right now. That's kind of crazy.
Think about where the Islanders would be if they could score.
Yeah.
With
they need a whole lot, but
yeah. But we're focused mostly on the Panthers, obviously. Who do you think? So going into the playoffs, then, who do you think is their most likely opponent? We'll start there.
So right now, I believe Pittsburgh's 1 point up on Washington with one more game played.
Washington, yes. I'm looking at standings right now. Washington has 100 points in 79 games. Pittsburgh has 101 in 80.
Okay, so I think Washington's opponents are a tad bit easier than Pittsburgh's, I believe. And I think Pittsburgh without Jari might drop another game. So I just have this gut feeling that it's going to end up being Pittsburgh. I've been wanting Washington this entire time, but without Jari, I'm thinking Pittsburgh might be the better option. Although Vanacek and Samsonov really don't scare me at all either for Washington.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, so Pittsburgh ends the season Tuesday against Edmonton, Friday against Columbus. And Washington ends the season Tuesday against the Islanders, Thursday against the Islanders, and then Friday against the Rangers. That Rangers game is going to be huge.
Yeah.
For that playoff, for both
determine
teams.
Both the Metro and...
Yeah, I mean, that game might even deter if the Rangers are still in the division race by then, too. I mean, it's kind of getting bleak for them because they're down by 4 points and they have 3 games left. Carolina has 2, but if they're still in it for the division, that game's going to have so many implications, not even for just Washington.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, without Jari, I mean, it's very possible Pittsburgh drops in at least one of those games. Might be against Edmonton.
I don't know about see them losing.
Yeah, and I really can't trust DeSmith and Domingue as well. How long is Jari supposed to be out? Do you?
I believe he was week to week.
And we don't know, especially for goalie injuries. You never know. I mean, he could come back next week and be perfectly fine, or he's done for the year. He might miss, like, even if Pittsburgh somehow plays like the Rangers in the first round and they win that series, he could still be out. You just don't know. And yeah, I can understand wanting Washington a lot more than Pittsburgh if you think it's going to be one of those two. I mean,
I don't. There's a small chance it's Boston, but
yeah,
they're a little bit ahead now. And I mean, Boston's defense is the only thing in the league that really scares me. I think the Panthers can outscore any team in the league right now. The issue is Boston's defense might be the one defense in the league that could shut us down. And they have good goaltending. I'll say that. Ullmark and Swayman can be good. So
I think if they start Swayman, they'll have a very good chance at winning any playoff series they're in.
Yeah,
I think
and with that defense, really I don't know if they have the offensive depth. I mean, Eric Hall as a 2C doesn't really strike fear, but their defense and goaltending can. I mean, it can definitely be scary to shut a team down.
It can definitely make a team make a lot of people think, oh, maybe there's an upset here.
Yeah.
Brewing. I can definitely see that. But I think Boston is just a bit too far ahead over Washington and Pittsburgh. Unless they drop their last 3 games, then sure it's there. And hey, they play the Sabres on Thursday, so maybe Sabres will play a little spoilers for them.
I'm kind of hoping the Panthers kind of blow this game tomorrow night just to be safe.
Yeah. So going into the playoffs, then I guess the one thing, if I'm thinking, if you yourself and probably a lot of most other Panthers fans have to think then Bobrovsky's not as much of a weakness as I think maybe some other people would like to say, would like to continue that narrative. I guess I would put it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's made out to be a lot worse than he really has been.
Yeah.
You mentioned that goal saved above expected stat and how he's 11th best. I do think that stat is slightly misleading though, because some of the high danger opportunities are his fault by giving up some big rebounds. So I think that does play into that a little bit, but he's definitely improved. I mean, compared to the last 2 years, that's not very difficult to do because he was terrible these last 2 years, but I think he gets a lot worse of a rep than he really deserves, mostly because of the contract. I mean, he's definitely not been a $10 million goalie.
Well, but not many goalies are.
Exactly. But he hasn't been a bad goalie. So if you get a Bob, like the Bob that played against Toronto Saturday night, where he gave up one really soft goal to Marner early on, but then was basically lights out. He stopped 3 or 4 2-on-1s in the third period alone. If you get that Bob in the playoffs, I think you win the Stanley Cup. But I don't even think you need Bob to be that good. With the Panthers offense, if you get just league average goaltending and league average defense, I don't see another team outscoring us in that sense.
Yeah, that's gonna end up being the thing. the only way a team's going to be able to beat the Panthers, really, maybe it doesn't even have to be who can outscore them. It's going to be which goalie can just get hot at the right time to stop them. Like
and that's why playing the Rangers scares me as well. If we were to face the Rangers in the Eastern Conference Finals, because Igor Shesterkin could shut us down, but there's not many other guys that I think could.
That Rangers team is really weird because like
I don't.
The only reason that they're in that spot, in my opinion. I mean,
they're a wild card team if not for Shesterkin.
But like I think the only way a team beats the Rangers is if they just don't take penalties against them, because Rangers have a top 5 power play.
Yeah,
actually, probably I think it's the second best power play in the league.
It might be. I've been taking a look at those stats.
And they're a top 10 penalty kill team. So like special teams right away becomes an advantage for the Rangers. So if you just stay in the 5v5 range against them, I think you have a great chance at winning that series. Even if Shesterkin is a god, because Rangers just have a hard time scoring at 5-on-5, and they mostly get caved in most nights too. Maybe not as bad, but they definitely get outshot like most nights.
Yeah, and so like Igor saves them. But I mean, staying 5v5, that was what every Panthers fan said last year against Tampa. Was we were the better team 5v5 by far.
I thought
just couldn't stay out of the penalty box.
Yeah,
we just couldn't stay out of the box. And then game 1, I think they had like 3 power play goals against us. They won that game 5-4. So
yeah,
staying 5v5 is definitely an issue. I mean, even last night we gave up 8 power plays, something like that, to Tampa. So we need to stay out of the box.
Yeah, that's gonna definitely be the thing. I actually do wonder what their penalty stats are. I'm gonna actually take a quick look at that.
I believe we're middle of the pack. The Panthers this year, I believe we're middle of the pack, like penalty kill percentage.
Well, I'm just looking at how many penalties they take. So right now they take their average penalty minutes per game is 10 minutes 12 seconds, which is 6th worst in the league. So like the bet. So
is there a way? Is that including fights though?
It's penalty minutes per game. So I want to say it should, because they've taken 19 major penalties, which those are fighting.
Yeah,
essentially.
That probably drives that stat a little up.
So like penalties drawn per 60 for the Panthers is 4.13. So per 60 they draw 4.13 penalties. So about 4 penalties a game. But then they take about the same amount too. Their penalties taken per 60 is 4.06.
Okay, so
so whatever they get, whatever they receive, they give as well. So that's something where if they're playing a team like the Rangers, or they're playing even if they find a way to play Tampa too, really a lot of teams. I mean, well, Tampa, Toronto, the Rangers. I don't know about Boston and that. I wouldn't even.
Their power play hasn't been that good, Boston. No. I don't think when I watch them.
And I wouldn't even put Washington in that, even with Ovechkin, just because their power play has been awful the last couple months. So if you're playing a team like the Rangers or the Leafs or the Lightning, then
those are the teams you got to watch out for.
Stay out of the box.
I'd agree.
Yeah. So going into the playoffs, then what do you think is their biggest weakness? And what do you think, like, if a team can take advantage of this on the Panthers, they'll have a great chance at winning?
Well, our defense is very inconsistent. I think that's definitely an issue of mine. I mean, we just had this 13-game winning streak where we really didn't give up many goals, but I think a big part of that was we played some weaker competition. Obviously, Aaron Ekblad coming back will definitely help that out a little bit. I don't know if he'll be up to the level, though, that he was when he got hurt, because he was at a Norris caliber level right before he got injured.
I agree with that.
So if he can come back to that level, I think our defense will be fine.
Is he expected to be ready for game 1?
He's been skating.
Okay.
The word is just he'll be back for the playoffs. I don't know if that means game 1 or what that means, but he'll be back in time for the playoffs.
To be fair, when the Lightning announced Kucherov's surgery last season, they said he would be ready for the playoffs, and he ended up being ready for game 1. So it could be that maybe the Panthers could just be pulling the same thing and kind of not giving a timeline, but kind of thinking, and obviously and
we're just throwing that under the bus. We don't need the whole word getting out, but I think he'll be back for game 1. So I think the defense is probably our biggest issue. I mean, I think it's been improving. I don't know what the pairings are necessarily going to be, because obviously getting Ben Sherratt at the deadline which I wasn't the biggest fan of at the time, but he's been a lot better since we've gotten him. Paired up with Uyghur has really, I guess, changed him a little bit.
Yeah, well, playing with Uyghur does help.
Yeah. But so, I mean, maybe they keep him with Uyghur and then they throw Ekblad with, I don't even know who you could pair him with, maybe like a Gustav Forsling.
I guess it just depends on who comes out of the lineup at that point. Because right now, I'm on Daily Faceoff and I'm looking at their defensive pairings, which was basically from yesterday before the game yesterday. Yeah, Sherratt, Uyghur, Forsling, Montour, Hag, Gudis. So I guess maybe Hag comes out of the lineup and then
Hag definitely comes out of the lineup.
But I guess do you maybe put Ekblad with Forsling and then Montour goes to the left side and plays with Gudis?
Well, I've honestly really liked that Forsling Montour pairing. I think it's been pretty good. I wonder
if Sherratt goes down and plays with Gudis then, and then Uyghur goes to the left side and plays with Ekblad. Because I think that was the pairing when Ekblad got hurt.
It was Uyghur, Ekblad, Gudis, Forsling, and then Montour, Carlson.
Yeah,
was what we did. I still think Carlson is a little bit better than Hag, but I mean, I guess they're interchangeable at that point. So I mean, I could see it going anyway. I think they're just gonna mix and match really, but I think they've been trying out Forsling, Montour for this long that I almost see it staying that way. So I wonder if we maybe see Ekblad, Gudis together.
That would be interesting.
It would. I mean, Ekblad providing that more offensive play style, Gudis a little bit more of that defensive. I mean, it kind of pair with each other a little bit.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting.
I do really like Gudis defensively too.
He's been. I mean, I was not a huge fan of that contract early on, and then he's been great for us, really.
He'll have his inconsistencies, but at the same time, I mean, he's like the number one trade target. Like for the Sabres, they need another right shot guy, and I'm praying that the Panthers need to get out of his contract in the offseason.
It's not that bad. It's only, I think he's making really 2.5.
It's not, but
for 1 year left.
Yeah, it's not that bad, but I'm just thinking like maybe there's something else. Maybe there's a different direction the Panthers want to go, and they need to get out of Goose's contract to go in that direction. I'm just spitballing obvious things. Like the Panthers aren't really like a cash strapped team right now. So
I mean, if we're gonna re-sign Marchment or Giroux, we're gonna have to probably shed some contract. I'm thinking it's probably Hornquist is probably gone in the offseason.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I could see them a small chance of them getting rid of Montour.
I don't think the Sabre fans.
I don't think so. I could see that just because of the amount of money he's making. And maybe some better options, especially if he's going to be playing bottom 6 minutes, or bottom pairing minutes. But.
Yeah, that's kind of just like a pipe dream for me. Because I really like Gudis. I think he'd be great for the locker room and for
good veteran leadership as well.
Yeah, you need that veteran leadership and just a guy and also a guy who's not afraid to stand up for your teammates as well. You'd always need guys like that. Because like early on in his career, Gudis was a guy who was looked at as like that prototypical tough guy.
And he still is. He still throws the body around. I mean, I think he leads the league in hits right now as well.
Yeah, but he can play defense though. That's the biggest thing is like he's not just I'm gonna go out and hit you kind of guy. He's I'm gonna go out and hit you, but I'm also gonna prevent you from scoring goals at the same time. I'm gonna kill plays. I look at Matthias Samuelsson for the Sabres as a guy who's like he's great at just killing plays. I don't know if you've watched. I don't know. Obviously,
I haven't watched a whole lot, but yeah.
If you watch the Sabres in these last couple games, they play Boston on Thursday, and because like you probably would want to watch that Bruins Sabres game just for the playoff implication. So if you are able to check that out, then watch Matthias Samuelsson play. You'll think like, oh my God, that's a heck of a player that the Sabres have.
I think it's very rare as well to find those guys who are good at throwing the body, but also being defensive responsibly. I mean,
Samuelsson. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. I just remember like the Panthers, at least growing up, I remember Eric Branson, and he was the prototypical just big guy, always throwing the body, and never played defense, which was the biggest issue. And I mean,
absolutely was the case. And I mean, Zach Bogosian is the same way, even though I always thought he had a lot more offensive instinct. He just didn't really get a chance to kind of show that. But yeah, if you watch that Bruins Sabres game, I mean,
I'll check it out.
Yeah, watch Samuelsson. Even Dahlin himself. He's actually one of the better guys in the league at separating body from puck. Just that in general. Like there is a stat that showed that. I remember at one point he was like leading the league and like just separating the body from the puck against the opposition. And like that's like, man, that's actually really interesting. And Samuelsson, I mean, you'll notice him right away because he's like 6'6".
Yeah.
So it does help. And him and Dahlin have been paired together recently. Mm-hmm. So we're feeling really good. You know, Sabre fans at least are feeling really good about that. So looking at the roster right now, obviously besides guys like Barkov and especially Huberdeau, who's had an MVP caliber year, I think. Who on the roster right now have you been most impressed with, and maybe you weren't expecting to be like to kind of come in and he's just producing right away?
So, I mean, I think Reinhardt I was expecting. Giroux I was expecting. Verhaeghe, Duclair, we kind of knew that was going to happen. Marchment is the guy who has really kind of shown up, and I think he'll get a big contract extension this year. I don't know from the Panthers or he's a UFA, so maybe some other team will be stupid and give him a 5x5. I had always been a big Marchment fan, though, because he had great underlying numbers. He was really great defensive, responsibly, and I mean, he was playing top-line minutes with Barkov and Verhaeghe last year in the playoffs. So I was always a big Marchment fan, but then now on the third line, he's really come out and kind of shown himself playing with Lundell and Reinhardt. He's over 40-something points in 40-something games, and he missed a lot of time. I think he missed 2 months of the season early on with an injury. So he's probably been my guy who's been the biggest showing. But even just taking a look at some of the fourth liners, I mean, Eetu Luostarinen and Ryan Lomberg, they don't have huge point totals, but they've been making a difference basically every game. And I think we probably have one of the best fourth lines in the league as well. I mean, all throughout, I think our depth is unbelievable, but they've probably made some of the biggest differences as well. And I think they're very responsible defensively. They're playing with a guy like Patrick Hornquist as well on that line, who's, I mean, giving them that leadership and really showing them how to play. But I think we have a lot of guys who are really just undervalued by a lot of teams who have been really showing out.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. Marchment, Marchment would have been my pick as well. I do really like Lomberg. I mean, he's a guy I think is like he's a perfect fourth liner guy who just comes in. He can play fast. He's a hard forechecker, hard to play against kind of guy. Those are guys you need for your fourth line. You need those guys on your team.
And he shows so much passion. He just loves. Yeah. I mean, he loves the fans down here every single time. If he gets in a fight and he gets thrown out, I mean, the Panthers are down by 3 goals last night. He gets thrown out of the game, and he's just out there egging the crowd on and just making it a fun environment.
Yeah, and he ended up getting suspended too. I was like, oh wow.
Never seen that rule before, but
automatic suspension. I'm just like, I don't think I've ever seen that.
No, I haven't.
Yeah. One other guy that I was really interested in going into the year, and like I occasionally I do fantasy hockey as well, and I do dynasty. So like my team carries over in the year.
Yeah.
I had to make sure to get this guy when I could. Anton Lundell. What have you seen out of him in this year, at least for his rookie season?
Yeah. I think he's had a terrific season. It's probably honestly been better than what I expected. If he didn't miss 13 games, or I don't even know how many games he missed because of injury, I think he'd be up there in the Calder voting right now. But the funny thing about Lundell was when we drafted him, he was always the guy who was kind of a defensive first guy. And we thought, okay, the offense might take a few years to develop. But then what league was he playing in? The Liga, I think, whatever it was last year. And he went out there and he just absolutely tore it up. Bring him over. And what's funny is now the offense is there, but the defense maybe hasn't been as great as it was when it was drafted. So we've almost seen that reversal. But I think it's something that the Panthers are kind of okay with because he's playing with 2 great defensive players in Sam Reinhart and Mason Marchment. So he's really been showing out. The point totals are there. The goals are there. I think he's just going to continue to get better as a rookie. It's basically everything we could have wanted. We drafted him as our future 2C that would hopefully go and play behind Barkov in a few years. I mean, we're looking at possibly next year. That's something when we talked about maybe shedding cap is maybe you end up trading Sam Bennett because Anton Lundell is almost ready to take that jump to be your second line center next season because he's been just that good.
Yeah, I was really curious about where they would play Lundell because they remember like then they traded for Reinhart in the summer and Reinhart ended the season for the Sabres being their number 1 center. So I had always thought, well, maybe Reinhardt's their second line center to start the year, and then Sam Bennett plays on the third line, and it's like you still have a great center core. But they're just cool with playing Reinhardt on the wing like he always did with the Sabres, and then Lindell is the third center, which I thought was like, okay, if they're gonna play him this year, that's the spot you want to play him at. You and I think for his defensive numbers, I mean, he's a rookie. So
they're going to improve. They're going to improve.
Yeah, you can't expect him. It's like it's like with Dylan Cousins and the Sabres. Like, you can't really expect him to be great defensively right away. Though the defensive numbers take time. But if he's showing offense right away, then you're thinking, okay, we got something there.
Exactly. It's harder to develop the offense than the defense. So once you have the offense there, I think we already knew he had the defense there somewhere. It'll come back eventually.
It's the same thing with Cousins. It's the same thing with Peyton Krebs here. Even the same thing with Casey Middlestad as well. I mean, the guys should just create offense right away, and like Middlestad himself, he struggled to just produce offense early on when he came to Buffalo. So, and now he's starting to show it now. He started to show at the end of last season. His injury this year didn't help him, really hurt him. But yeah, I mean, I look at Lindell and I just think the same thing. Like, he's producing right away. So yeah, maybe, and he's definitely their future second line center, but heck, I mean, you ride out that rookie contract with him. You could ride out Sam Bennett too, and just roll with those two and Barkov as your top three centers for the next, at the very least, 2 years before you have to pay Lindell money, because more than likely he's just going to get better. So you're going to have to shell money out at later point. But heck, that's a great spot to be in if you're the Panthers.
It's been incredible, and I think maybe we definitely going to keep Bennett there one more year at least. I mean, but
I think so. Yeah.
Huberdeau needs a new contract, and we need a new contract. Not next season, but the season after. So we'll have to make some moves. Yeah,
definitely going to have to. I'm looking at their cap friendly right now. I mean, Huberdeau UFA in 2023. Weegar, Gudis too, and then Knights and RFA in 2023.
Although the way he's playing, I don't know how big of a contract.
I mean, he's not going to get a big deal.
Yeah. Especially basically only getting backup numbers. So
backup numbers, he's still so young. I mean, and even being such a high draft pick, I mean, it's not something to really stress over. You know. So I think the Panthers are in just an excellent spot in terms of their cap. As long as they keep spending smartly in this offseason and next year, heading into next year too, they're going to be fine. I really think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to be a top team for the next few years. Really, they really have that. They really have that potential too. And if Barkov's contract kicks in next year too.
Oh yeah. So the cap goes up, and we also have Yandel's buyout number, which increases as well by $2 or $3 million. Next season as well. So some things to work with, but it's weird as a Panthers fan to just sit back and be like, I trust Bill Zito, because I basically my entire fandom as a Panthers fan. I had Dale Talon at the helm, being a GM. He gave out so many bad contracts. I mean, in one summer, he gave $10 million to Bobrovsky, $6.5 million to Anton Strawman, like $3.5 million to 50-year-old. He was only like 28, Brett Connolly, but he played like he was 50 years old.
Yeah.
And then, so in one summer, he basically completely screwed us over. He gave Dave Bolland a terrible contract a while back. Mike Matheson, that big contract. It's weird now, the whole Vegas expansion draft stuff.
That was what I was just going to mention too.
It's weird just sitting back and being like, Bill Zito, I trust you. Go make some magic happen.
It's great. It's honestly a great feeling. I mean, obviously with the Sabres over the last few years, with Tim Murray, with Jason Botterill, and then even the Bills for such a long time. I mean, you're a Dolphins fan too.
Yeah.
So like you were, same division and everything. So like you guys saw it, rotating through GMs, and it's really just nice now to be like, I trust our GM, and I could say that with Brandon Beane. I'm starting to say that. I've been starting to say that with Kevin Adams now too. So like it's just great. Thursday is the first round in the NFL draft, and I'm just like, the Bills are at pick 25. I don't really care, honestly. As long
faith. I mean, they've made so many late round draft picks and just late picks that have panned out for them. So
yeah, and it's like there's only one position that I would complain about, and that's quarterback. And they're not going to do that because they have Josh Allen, so it doesn't matter. They could take a running back in the first round. A lot of people really think that the Bills are going to take a running back at pick 25, and I was like, I don't really know if they're going to.
You guys did not run the ball much last year, did you?
No, and and when Singletary did, especially late, he was really good. Yeah. So I want them to go receiver. Honestly, I really do. I want them to get another guy in here. My dream is Jameson Williams falls to the Bills at 25.
That would be impressive. I don't know if he falls that far, but
I don't think he will. But that's why it's a dream.
I think this is the first year in a long time I just have not cared about the draft at all. I mean, the Dolphins not having any top 100 picks definitely plays a role in that. But you did get Tyreek Hill. We got Tyreek Hill. We did so much in the offseason. I was so happy with what they did.
That's they're going to be a really interesting team to watch next season. I'm very curious on how Tua plays.
I mean, that's the question.
He's going to be the thing. Yeah, he's
no excuses this year.
No, exactly. No excuses. It was the same thing with the Bills and Josh Allen. They, his second year, they go out and get John Brown and Cole Beasley. They draft Dawson Knox, and he struggled a lot his first couple years, but. And Allen started to take a step forward with those two at receiver, and then they went out and got Diggs in the next offseason, and then it was like, okay, Josh, now you have to take a big step forward, and boy, did he.
And that's kind of what I think about with the Dolphins, how Tua, he wasn't great first year, then they get him Jalen Waddle, he improves a little bit. Now they bring on Tyreek Hill, now they bring on Cedric Wilson. Yeah. So no excuse. Plus, they got Tavon Armstead to really bolster that offensive line. So
yeah, that's a sneaky good pickup for the Dolphins. That's going to really, we all know this. The O-line's going to really determine how the quarterback plays. If that Dolphins O-line is one of the worst in the league, I mean, no quarterback's going to succeed there. So it's hard to really, blame Tua. But now it's if the Dolphins are underperforming and Tua's not playing great, you got a problem.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's all man. Bill, even Buffalo, Miami, there's just a lot of
it's all the time.
It's great. It's great. I mean, with the Sabres being in the Panthers division as well. I mean, I'm so hyped for what this team's gonna be looking like.
They've got a lot of young guys who, I mean, and don't you guys have? I think the funny thing is, since the Eichel trade, don't you guys have a better record than Vegas?
It's around the same.
It's around the same.
They've been very similar. At least I think it's at least since. I don't know if it's since the trade or since Eichel came back. Okay. Eichel played. But it's I remember seeing the stats, their record's almost identical.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the Sabres' March and April has been so much fun to watch. Mm-hmm. They have, obviously, the Sabres have the Panthers' first-round pick this year. They're going to have that pick. I mean, and as we open the show with, Ron is adamant that that the Panthers aren't getting out of the first round or at least the second round. So,
he's going to be proven wrong, but
I would think so too. I think if there's any team that can beat Tampa, at least, I think it's the Panthers. I really do. This is probably the most complete team in the division next to Tampa. Obviously, it's probably going to be a Tampa Toronto first round, which is going to be a heck of a series.
That'll be fun.
Man, Toronto, I can't see them beating Tampa, honestly. I really can't.
I think I could. But it's going to come down to Vazzy.
It's going to come down to Vazzy, but I think so. But I think it's going to come down to Toronto's offenses. Can they show? Yeah. Can their top guys show up? They didn't last year.
They haven't been able to.
Yeah, if the top guys even showed up a little bit, they'd have beaten Montreal.
Yeah,
they should have.
Yeah, what was it, Marner? I don't think Marner had a single point or something like that.
Marner. I don't remember.
There were some top guys.
It was Marner and Matthews, I think, combined for 1 point.
Yeah, that was what it was.
I think that's what it was. I don't remember. I think when it was just an assist too. It's and obviously they lost Tavares, and that didn't help. But even still, it's you were up 3-1. You're the better team. Win the series. If you can't do it, well, now you got to play Tampa this year. Good luck, because they're the 2-time champs for a reason.
I think when it comes to the Panthers this year, in the playoffs at least, you're looking at, can a team score 6 or 7 goals against them a night? Mm-hmm. That's basically the only way that a team will be able to stop them, unless it's Boston, which in that case, I think Boston may slow us down a little bit, but I still don't think they're going to shut us down completely. And I mean, you even look at a game like last night. That was really the first time in a while where the Panthers just, I don't even want to say they got dominated because the goaltending kind of let them down a little bit, but they still put up 4 goals. I think it was only the second or third time this season where we've scored at least 4 goals and lost. So everyone is always saying, can they win these 2-1 games? Who cares if we're winning 4-1 or 4-2?
I mean, if you're scoring 4 goals a night, that's not a question that needs to be asked.
Exactly.
You know, that's what I always think too. I'm just like, I'd rather just be the team that scores 4 goals because then I don't got to worry about winning that 2-1 game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, whether I win or lose, like if you're scoring, guess what? Like that's going to translate a lot better than if you can only score 1 or 2 goals a night.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's like I'd rather be the Panthers this year, the Avalanche, than the Islanders.
Yeah.
You know, as much as the Islanders, you know, last couple of years has been great. You know, 2 conference finals appearances. That's still a team that can't score.
No.
At least they always have the hardest time to, and it just became more apparent this year for them. And you know, obviously there wasn't a lot of stuff that they can do, like especially with starting the season, you know, first month on the road.
Yeah, I think first 13 games, and then they hit that COVID stretch that hurt them. But
and that
even then they were still just not. They were very disappointing this year.
Even then, are they still a playoff team? Like,
no,
are they
so.
they a team that gets over 100 points? I don't think so. Maybe they're in the 90s, but that's it.
Yeah.
But that's this year, not good enough to make the playoffs. Which is just weird to think like that.
Yeah.
Every playoff team in the East has over 100 points or has 100 points or more. Which I don't think ever.
I always remember counting down the points until 96. 96 was always that special number as a Panthers fan, and then this year 96 gets you nowhere close.
Yeah, 96, and you're almost like you could almost be 10 points out.
Yeah,
which is just completely wild to think. But then if you're in the West, 96 is going to get you in.
Yeah,
because like the Kings are at 96 right now, and they only need 1 more point to clinch a playoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
And Vegas plays Dallas tomorrow, and if Dallas wins that game, or if that game just goes to overtime, I think
that's going to be such a good game.
Oh my God, that's going to be the game to watch too.
Yeah.
You know, I think if that game goes overtime too, even if Vegas wins, like that puts if Vegas wins in overtime, Dallas would have 94, Vegas would have 92, so they would still be in.
They still need help, but then who has the tiebreaker between them? I don't know who has that tiebreaker.
I think it would be right now it'd be Dallas because they have 40 regulation overtime wins. Vegas is 38.
Okay.
So as of right now, Dallas does have the tiebreaker if they tie, and Nashville even has a tiebreaker for Vegas because they have 41.
Oh, so Vegas needs help.
Vegas does need help. They really do.
I don't mind seeing Vegas miss though. I kind of want them to miss.
I mean, hey, Sabres fan here. We have Vegas's first round pick. So
yeah, that's true.
You know, but it's like part of me also thinks it's like I kind of rather have them make the playoffs because then it's like we're guaranteed to have that pick, no matter what. No matter what
is it lottery protected or something like that?
Lottery protected. It's only top 2 protected. So if the Vegas misses the playoffs and that pick wins a lottery, Vegas keeps it.
But didn't they change it where like they can't move up more than 10 spots?
I don't know. I don't remember what they changed
They might have done something like that. So I don't even know if they technically can move into the top 2.
I think that's only if a team wins the draft lottery and then it's like the next year.
Okay. So
I remember there was something about like they can't win the draft. They can't like win the first overall pick like multiple years in a row.
Yeah, that I remember.
So like that's not going to apply for the Sabres since last year they retained the first overall pick, but like so they could win the first overall pick this year still. But then if they do, they won't be able to win it next year then if they miss the playoffs. So I think that might be what it is.
Okay.
They
changed it whole,
They change all the time because they're like we don't want to. The NHL is always just like we discourage tanking, but then
it's not going to stop it.
It's not going to stop it, and it doesn't matter. Like if teams don't want to be good, then and they want top draft picks, like just let them. Yeah. Honestly, you know, just don't let it. I mean, if anything, just don't let it get too out of hand. But like they're kind of just dipping there. They're kind of just like.
When you have a team like what Arizona's doing,
it's like when you have exactly. It's like if you don't want Arizona to tank like that, then don't let them make those kind of trades that they did.
Exactly.
They have 4 second-round picks this year, which is wild to think. And they have like I think 2 first-round picks. I think
they have so many, and then just going into the next year as well.
Yeah, and so much money in cap space too, and so many expiring contracts. It's just crazy. It's crazy, and it's like the NHL doesn't want teams to tank if that happens. So I don't know. it's all rent, but it's great that like you don't have to worry about that. Heck, even I don't have to worry about that. Even though the Sabres have a bunch of draft picks too, but they're like playing well and everything. I mean, having 3 first-round picks, likely going to be 3 first-round picks, is going to be great.
That's crazy. The Sabres have a good future. They've kind of always, and I mean, I've never been scared of the Sabres, even though the Panthers can never win in Buffalo for some reason until this year. Mm-hmm. But their future, it's definitely something to look out for. They're one of those teams where I could see them in 2-3 years becoming a force.
Yeah, I mean, heck, it's very possible that, the optimism would obviously be like 3 years from now, the Panthers and Sabres are like the top 2 teams in the division.
Mm-hmm.
It would be crazy to think.
And I mean, I can see that as Tampa continues to age, they'll fall off.
Yeah, Boston I don't know about Toronto too. It's like, we really depend on the other teams, obviously. And I'm looking at, there's a chance the Sabres make the playoffs next year, just because they could be that 5th team. They could be 5th in the division again, but be second wild card.
I could see them someone making a wild card. I mean, I think you're going to see one of Pittsburgh or Washington or just some team fall off because of age, because all of these other teams are really just getting up there.
I wonder about the Rangers.
Can they repeat what Shesterkin did? But they're going to bolster up because they have some cap space, don't they?
I'm going to look at their cap situation really quick. Just under 12 million, it looks like, in cap space. Let's see. Let me look at guys they got to re-sign. Sammy Blais, they got to re-sign. Georgiev is an RFA, but they're probably going to trade him and just sign a guy to be their backup.
Yeah.
Adam Fox's new contract kicks in too. So that's a lot of it. That's 9.5 right there. Let's see, major guys. Kakko is going to need a contract, and then Julien Gauthier. Those are RFAs.
Mm-hmm.
Really. Ryan Strome's a UFA. Kopp's a UFA. They traded for Vetrano. He's a UFA.
He's not going to get much though. But
no, I like him though. He's a solid bottom 6 guy.
I was never a huge fan of Vetrano. I always thought he was kind of one of those guys who he could sort of shoot. Wasn't very consistent doing that, but he wasn't good besides that. I mean, I just never thought he had much else besides the shot. So I was never huge on him. I was kind of happy when we made that trade.
Yeah, I mean, it's understandable. I mean, he had the one really good year for the Panthers in 2019, scoring 24 goals, and then it's 16, 18, 10 this year before he got traded, and he's got 7 since he got traded to the Rangers.
I know. I think that's the thing that Vetrano has always done is he goes on those streaks. He'll have a game. He'll have a 5-game span where he scores 7 goals, and then we'll go 20 straight games without anything. And that was kind of always our issue with him.
Yeah, I can understand the inconsistency and everything. I mean, we saw that with Jeff Skinner, and that's at a more higher level.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, that contract.
Well, hey,
it's not been as bad this year, though, right? He's
over 30 goals.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah, I mean, you could blame Ralph Kruger for that. I mean, he scored 14 goals in the COVID-shortened season because they decided to, start playing him away from Jack Eichel, and then last season he only scored 7 because they were like, he's a 4th liner and a scratchable guy. And
that's
this year now he's too good for that. And it's this year he's playing with Tage Thompson, who is near 40 goals, which is just wild to think as well. And Skinner's up to 33 now, and it's just hey, look what happens when you're playing with skilled guys.
You're breaking up a little bit for me, but
yeah. But it's okay. So if you can hear me now, look what happens when you play a skilled player with other skilled players. They end up working out.
You're frozen right now. I can't understand you.
Weird. All right, let's take a quick break and we'll see if we can get everything working again.
Okay.
So that was a little quick ad from our friends over at Dinosaur Barbecue. Dylan, are you able to hear me again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. You are going a little bit in and out, but I think it's fine.
I think the Wi-Fi might be acting up again for you.
Is it me? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, you sound really clear to me. You sound perfect, you know.
Okay, so I don't know. We'll see. I can understand you now. So
yeah, we'll figure this out. It's all good. So realistically, for the Florida Panthers this year, if they play a team like Washington or Pittsburgh, you would think like, okay, they're winning this series.
I want to say yes, although we haven't.
Got to be confident. You got to be confident in your team. You know that.
I'm very confident in this team. I've never once before thought anything near as highly as I do of this year's team. But I still think I'm a Panthers fan. We haven't won a playoff series since '96.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so used to heartbreak. This has been too good of a season almost for us. We're not used to this much success that I'm almost like trying to prepare myself for heartbreak. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do think, Washington or Pittsburgh, we should have no trouble beating them in 5 or 6 games. That's kind of just my thinking.
Yeah, I mean, if it's one of those two teams, I'm thinking like, yeah, that's probably a 6. If it's Pittsburgh, it might go 7, I would say, because just Pittsburgh.
I hope not. My prom, it would possibly be the same day as Game 7, so I'm really hoping not. But...
man, that would stink. Oh,
and especially after what I did for my promposal, and I got Panthers commentator involved. It's gosh.
Yeah, I mean, you're just praying that any playoff series they have doesn't go 7 games.
Yep. I mean, it shouldn't. I mean, if it goes 7 games against one of those teams, I think the Panthers have an issue there of itself.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it will go 7 against those teams. I think we should be able to deal with it. Although Washington has played really well against us this year. We had one game when we went up 4-1 against them, blew that lead, but then won it in overtime, lost in Washington, and then had that game where we went into the third down 4-1 and then scored 4 goals in the third to win it. Mm-hmm. So they've played well against us. I don't think they're very good, but they are a team that could possibly be upset worthy.
And they have the playoff experience. So, and Ovechkin, those guys know what it takes to win. They've done it before. Can they do it again? But it's just a lot tougher road. They've been a team that's always been used to being at home to start the playoffs, and now they're gonna have to go on the road no matter who they play, because they're not gonna get up to the second spot in the Metro. So it's like they're either playing Florida or they get up to the 3rd spot and they have to play the Rangers. So it's just,
I will say
no matter what.
At home, the Panthers, I could see them winning every single game at home. I mean, we went 34-7 at home during the regular season. That's unheard of. I mean, I've never been that way where I just walked into the stadium and be like, okay, we're winning this. And I'm like, I walked out of that stadium upset maybe 5 times, I think. It's been incredible. We can beat anyone at home. We have I don't know what it is where Florida has home ice advantage. We've finally because all the no fans jokes, we've suffered through that forever. We finally have started to beat that with pretty good attendance this year, at least. So we have great home ice advantage. And we are, like I've always said, even though we don't completely sell out, FLA Live is one of the loudest arenas just kind of in the NHL, I think. I mean, it's up there with the Islanders and just the levels of how loud it gets in there and how active the fans are. So there is definitely that home ice advantage down here in South Florida.
Yeah, I'm watching some of Panthers highlights. I'm just thinking like, wow, the fans are starting to show up now, and it's great to see, especially man, after the last few years where I've always, at least me personally, has always been thinking, if the NHL is not going to relocate the Coyotes, I wonder if they would relocate the Panthers. But
something we have had. I mean, it's been something I've kind of been fearful of forever. Now it seems like with this growing attendance, we have owners that are finally committed. We're building a brand new practice facility down here. There's rumors of a brand new stadium as well.
Really?
So, yeah, the stadium thing is unsure of, but we have a brand new practice facility being built in downtown Fort Lauderdale that should be ready for next year. So the owners are committed down here. And I think it's Panthers fans. This is probably the first time in a while we feel comfortable that there's really not going to be any relocation rumors.
Yeah, I mean, if they do end up getting a new arena, and especially closer to Miami, especially closer to downtown, I mean, that's gonna right away just drive up the attendance. I can't. That's something I've always been saying. It was like it's the same way with the Coyotes too. Like, be more closer to the metropolitan area, be more closer to where everybody is, and you'll get those people coming to your games, because a lot of those people, even if they're transplants, they'll be like, I need something to do tonight. Oh, hey, look, a hockey game's going on. I like hockey. I'm gonna go.
Exactly. I don't know how familiar you are with like South Florida geography area, but even if we're not in Miami-Dade County, which is where Miami is, the Panthers are a Broward team. We are the one county north of Miami-Dade County. We're a Broward team. The issue is we're so far out of downtown Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
If we were closer to Fort Lauderdale, I go to school basically like 10 minutes north of downtown Fort Lauderdale, but we play all the way on the other side of the county, like 10-ish miles west. We're near the Everglades in the middle of nowhere. All there is Sawgrass Malls near it. There's really nothing else. It takes a good 45 minutes just to get across the county in rush hour traffic. It would be so much nicer if I'm leaving my house instead of going straight from school to a game. If I'm leaving my house on a weekday, it's taking me over an hour just to get there.
Yeah.
It's not pleasant at all. I'm not surprised that we've had attendance issues in the past, because no one wants to sit an hour in traffic to go watch a team that isn't particularly good, especially people traveling all the way from downtown Miami on a weekday. That's taking an hour and a half.
Yeah, I'm looking at Google Maps of the Miami area and everything. I'm just, that's exactly what I'm seeing. I mean, you got to travel at least an hour, almost hour and a half. And a lot of that too is also because just traffic. Like, you got to take that into account.
South Florida traffic is terrible. It's
I can imagine. So, I mean, it's like, a new stadium, especially like around even in the Fort Lauderdale area, like, I think would definitely work a lot better. I mean, obviously the closer to Miami, the better, but you got to do what you got to do. And like,
Fort Lauderdale's got a really big area though. If they can make it work,
it definitely does. It definitely does. You know, I always just think too, like, well, Miami is the name, and that's where, like, okay, people are going there, you know, where it's like, I look at, you know, Fort Lauderdale, it's like, okay, that's where like a lot of like the people live. That's like a lot of the natives live, the people who live there, who work there, who go to school there. That's like more of like a community area. Even though you're definitely right though.
It's become a lot more of a big. It's almost. I mean, it is almost like the Miami in a sense. At least now, it's definitely grown and grown.
Yeah, I mean, over the last like more back then, like 5-10 years ago, it's like Miami is the spot you want to be at, like just in the downtown area. So it's like, if you could get an arena in the downtown area or even somewhere close to that, like that would, I think, would be the ideal option. But I mean, Fort Lauderdale has definitely been growing over the last, number of years. So like, that's easily another option too. I mean, it's just like, imagine if the Sabres didn't play in downtown Buffalo. It's like with the Bills, like the Bills play in Orchard Park, which is a suburb of Buffalo. And that's like, for a lot of people, that's almost, that's like a 30-45 minute drive for people. And if they live in Niagara Falls, that's an hour drive, Yeah, it's like going from Buffalo to Rochester. I mean, it's
the Bills they've always had good attendance, though, even when they haven't.
They always, right? Because they will always have good.
The Bills have great fans, which plays a big role in that. If you're in South Florida, who's really never experienced good hockey, you're not just going to go out of your way and drive an hour to go see a game. Now that they're good, they're finally getting people who are like, hey, let's go check it out. And I mean, that's South Florida in general has always been, I could say, bandwagon thing, but I mean, there's always been so much better things to do in South Florida than go watch a bad team play.
That's just it. That's why, like I mentioned, it's like, well, you got the native people there, and it's like more of those people who are in Miami. A lot of those are tourists. They're transplants too, Whereas like Buffalo, we don't really get transplants. People from Buffalo go to Miami to live there when they retire, especially when they retire and everything. And you get, the people who go to the Bills games up here, well, they live here. They're not, transplants from other cities or other states. They grew up here. They were born here and everything like that. Where it's like, yeah. And in the Fort Lauderdale area, that's more where the people who live there, who were born there, that's where they live. Whereas Miami is more of a touristy spot,
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas like Buffalo's not really like a touristy spot.
I don't know the last time. I mean, people go to tour Niagara Falls, but that's, I mean, I don't think anyone really goes on vacation to Buffalo.
Yeah, you don't really go on like a 2-week vacation to Buffalo, New York, or Niagara Falls. You know, you spend a day in Niagara Falls. That's about it. But you go to Miami for 2 weeks for a vacation. It's just the way of the world. It's like the same thing with LA. It's like you go on a vacation for 2 weeks to LA, but you're not really going on a vacation to like Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
No.
Omaha, Nebraska.
Or Omaha, Nebraska, or even like Seattle. Like, it's just not, you know, it's just, you want to go south where it's sunny and, you know, you're in that area. So, and you live there all the time. But you also see, man, it's like, you just see people who are not from here and more often than I do.
Yeah.
You'll see me vacationing there, if anything, before I see you vacationing here.
100%.
You know,
100%.
That's just how it is. I mean, I haven't been to Florida in years. I think the last time I went, I was like in 8th grade. I was going to Disney. I was going to Disney. I mean,
not even South Florida. So
yeah, not even South Florida, Orlando. Man, and I got a trip to New Orleans later this year that's going to be so much fun. So, but I think that's about it. I do have a question here, not a Panthers question, but should the Sabres trade their 3 first-round picks for the number 1 overall pick? I saw that. I will say no. I'd say keep the picks, draft your players. If you want to trade one of those picks for a right shot defenseman. If you can find one, fine. As long as it's not the Sabres' own pick. If they trade the Vegas pick for that, hopefully it better be a good guy getting. But they might. Maybe if they trade the Panthers pick for that right shot guy, fantastic. I'm all for that. But to shell out those 3 picks just to get the first overall pick, I don't think so. I don't even think the team who's going to end up having the first overall pick is going to do that anyway, because they're obviously going to want Shane Wright that bad. He's going to be the guy going first overall. At least I think I've said that. We've had a draft analyst guy in the show. Oddly enough, his Twitter handle is @thedraftanalyst, Steve Corianos. He couldn't join us today. He has his own stuff going on, but that's okay. Hopefully we have him back next week. He would agree with me in saying like Shane Wright's going first overall. I think so. And it's great. You got to love the fact that you don't got to worry about the draft as well, with the team being so good and everything.
Yeah, it's been very nice, but I don't think the Sabres are really like a Shane Wright away. I think having 3 picks is more valuable to them. I mean, taking 3 shots at guys and possibly hitting on 2 of those, or even if you do hit on all 3, I think that helps them a lot more than just one Shane Wright.
I think so too. Like they're a decent right shot defenseman and an average goalie away, and that's with having you. And
you have Devon Levi as well.
Yeah, and we got Levi too in the Reinhart trade. He's going back to college next season, which I'm honestly not surprised with. But man, like when he gets here, he's been great. Very curious.
That was a Roberto Luongo pick. Luongo pushed hard for Levi, for Zito to pick Levi. Yep, that was. I remember it came out after that.
Really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, during the World Juniors, it got reported that like Luongo was pushing hard for him. So that was like, we loved him down here, but I mean, obviously we got Reinhart, so I think
you did.
We both turned out pretty well.
We both win. We both win that. Yeah. No, that's actually really interesting. I didn't know that. That's really cool. I mean, God, love Luongo so much. Always loved him. I mean, I'm so glad his number's in the rafters too.
Yeah, I remember, and we got that in. I want to say it was March 7th, 2020. So we got that game in a week before everything shut down.
Wow! Oh my God!
Yeah. Wow. I remember going to that game, and like it started to feel a little bit eerie around that time. But I went to that game. I had a blast, and that was the last sporting event I went to before COVID shut down.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, God, I think the last sporting event I went to, I didn't even really go to any before the pandemic. Right before the pandemic, I mean, really started to hit.
Yeah.
I went to like one Sabres game that season. That was in like November. It was against Calgary, I think. But yeah, like really when it's the middle of winter, really like going to Sabre games is the only thing we can really do, especially when Bill season's over.
Yeah.
So it's like there's really just not much else to do, and at that time, like the Sabres are just ugging around as per usual. So it's like I don't really want to go to games and everything, and then everything shuts down. It's like, oh well, nothing to do now. All right, but Dylan, thank you so much for coming on. This has been a blast. You're awesome.
Thank you.
Listen to Dylan's Discourse podcast. you obviously, with being so busy with school and getting ready for college and everything, I don't know when we'll see another episode, but hopefully like by the time the playoffs start,
we'll get one in a week. I'm doing a playoff preview for sure.
Excellent.
And then I'll try and do post game stuff.
Yeah, I finished. Awesome. Yeah.
Friday's my last day of high school before I have some finals after, but yeah, I'm basically done.
Jeez, man. Oh man. All right. It's so weird. It's so weird to think that, because like I graduated high school like 10 years ago, and I'm just like, man, I was done with high school in the middle of June.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost May and you're basically done. Like that's to me, that's just insane to think, but that's awesome, man. I'm really, really happy for you, man.
Thank you.
Great to chat with you.
Definitely. Same to say. Same for you.
Yeah. So follow him on Twitter at Miami Guy Dylan, right in the bottom line there. Anything else you want to add before we sign off for the night?
It's been just a blast. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, maybe we'll get you on like after the playoffs. You could talk if you want to go on an absolute tear if the Panthers, break your heart again.
Or
you could come on
when they win those first 2 rounds, and I'll have a chat with Ron.
Yeah, you could just
be told you so.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want. That's definitely what I want to see a lot more.
That'll be good.
Yeah, that'll be fun. All right, well, Dylan, you have a great night.
Thank you so much.
All right, and Ron and I will be back next week. He's on vacation this week, so he should be back next Monday. So follow me on Twitter at Frank Arcury, and I'm always going to be posting, whatever the heck I feel like. Maybe I'm ranting about something, or maybe I'm just making fun of something. Like Elon Musk bought Twitter today, and I said the first thing he's going to do is implement a rule where he bans everybody who makes fun of him.
We'll see how Twitter changes. I'm not reading into anything too much.
I won't read into anything too. I don't think it's going to be that. I don't think it's going to be that much of a change. If anything, maybe he really does ban people just for no reason. But
see.
All right. But Dylan, you have a great night. We'll see everybody next week on the Ranting Cast. Ron will be back.